Shane Webb here. I'm an ex-professional rugby league player. I grew up in the country on a farm, so I've sort of got a bit of that as well at the moment. I also work for Channel 7, I read the sport, and basically a handful of other things. I got a real safety focus in my life, I suppose. I do a lot of safety talks to different businesses, which I have done for a very long time. The only reason I'm drawn to safety, and the only reason, in fact, I've ever done anything about safety in terms of talking about it, is because my dad was killed in a workplace accident. Shortly after that, my footy career actually gained some traction, if you like. And what happens, of course, is when you start to become well known in a footballing sense, the media want to look behind you and see what is your background. And they very quickly discovered that my father had been killed in this workplace accident. Now that alerted our sponsors at the Broncos, many of which we were in big extractive industries like mining and quarrying, different things like that. And so they saw me as a unique opportunity, if you like, to go out and sell this message, because I played a popular sport and I was talking to blue collar workers who would at least want to listen to me. But over a very long period of time then, say for the next 25 years, I did miles of it. And what happens, of course, is in the course of that, yes, I talked about safety, but I learnt about safety because I saw all these different versions of it, but I also got to hear a lot of other people talk about safety. And the net effect is I've probably seen and listened to just about every version of safety that exists. And in that, I have developed a very interesting perspective. Well, not interesting perspective, but a pointed perspective that allows me to pull safety down to two things. And that is, it is complacency that gets people killed, maimed and injured, which means one thing, that it is up to the individuals. It is up to them, those of us who work in these dangerous places, it is up to us to use the very tools that are put there for us to use to be safe. For anyone who has ever been involved in losing someone in a workplace accident, and more importantly in some respects, being beside someone who has survived a workplace accident, they will tell you that the horror that goes along with that is unbearable for the families and for the people who really got to pay the price and pick up the pieces when it happens. So if you think about it, we go to work so we can live, not so that we can die or get hurt or turn into something that we weren't, on the way in. So it's incredibly important that we understand that yes, you look after yourself with safety and you think about what you're doing, all the things that I always talk about. But as an extension of that, looking after those who work beside you is simply, and if you like, it's an Australian thing. We look after our mates. We all have those moments of, whether it be levity or tiredness or unawareness, where if we had a mate who said, hey, woo, think about what you're doing, may well save somebody's life. It is incredibly important. By helping them, you help you. There's a lot of engineering in safety now. So trying to engineer the danger out of everything, which is fine, but that's impossible. Wherever there's a human being involved, you cannot out-engineer the danger. If a dangerous job is dangerous, it will always be dangerous. In my opinion, what that has done has taken some of the responsibility or taking some of the thought process away from the employee, the people who actually do the dangerous work. So what the real misconception, as I see it, is coming particularly from the employee side, this notion that their safety is not their responsibility first. It is their responsibility first. And if you learn to think like that, the whole thing becomes a little bit easier. So they give you all the tools that you need. The next big advancement in safety is for employees to understand the art of engagement, how to really be engaged when you're at work, so that all the things that are there to help you do your jobs safely, you use and they become your habit. So more and more what I do is reminding people who do these dangerous jobs that it's up to you. The business has given you what you need, but it is up to you to take the other step and use it and be engaged and think and be aware that you are doing a dangerous job which cannot be made safe. The overwhelming feeling that we had when this happened to Dad is that we were powerless and that, the universe had robbed us of our family and it meant nothing. But because I started to do all this work in workplace health and safety and tell the story of my father, and his shortcomings in terms of the way he thought about workplace health and safety, because I tell that story and perhaps someone who heard me speak has changed because of it, well, that means my dad didn't die for nothing, and that's what inspires me to keep going. Agriculture is the most dangerous industry in Australia. Statistically, more people are killed and maimed per capita than anything else. And because I go and do this work, I get to remind others I remind me. And so when I go back to my farm and engage in these very dangerous activities, it's top of mind for me. I've been reminded again. Because that's the real key to workplace health and safety, is constantly finding your motivation to be safe. And if you think about what it means, and I can because I've seen it, what it means when someone doesn't come home, that's motivation enough, I promise you. People follow people. They don't necessarily follow rules and bits and pieces of paper, but they will follow people. So what leaders of any business, and same as this business we're here today, what the leaders have the power to do is to set the tone and to set the culture. That's what good leaders do. Good leaders build these structures that are right, but then they live them. And they make sure everybody else sees the fact that they live them, which tell them, you know what, this is not an ass covering exercise. I care about you blokes, I don't want to hurt you. And so this is the way we're going to do things. Leadership does that. In the absence of that, people do what they think is the best thing for themselves. And that's when you've got to rabble. Leadership is absolutely paramount.